Super Random Japan. Nani?
Even if you've never heard of Japanese idols, they've likely touched an aspect of your life. From video games and anime to music in general, the phenomenon of Japanese idol culture has made waves throughout the world, for better or for worse. In this video, we'll touch on the history, the successes, and the controversy surrounding all that is Japanese idols. What the heck is a Japanese idol? Well, there is a spectrum of types that we'll cover later. The general idea is that an idol is a girl or boy singer or group of singers, usually aged 25 or younger, that are marketed for their image, attractiveness, and personality, and perform very commercialized and popular music created by teams of specialists rather than themselves. They are not so much artists as they are performers aimed at merchandising to a loyal fan base. In the West, we think about groups like New Kids on the Block, Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, Britney Spears and the Spice Girls, etc. However, the Japanese had long mastered the idea of the idol, or girl or boy band, long before the West, and some might say the West even learned a bit from their success. Let's look back at the history of the J-idol. Though some could argue Japanese idols existed in the 1960s, it was a bit more ambiguous back then. Sure, there were singers who were turned into actors and models to market their music and whatnot, but they were still mostly artists in their own right and of varying ages. The key emergence of the 1960s was the creation of the company Johnny & Associates, founded by Johnny Kitagawa to train and create talented male artists and groups, a company that would pump out artists for many decades and even to the present. The term idol was also emerging due to the French film Cherchez l'idole, or in Japanese, Aidoru o Sogasu, aka Search for the Idol. French actress Sylvie Vartan stole the hearts of Japanese viewers, spreading to the entertainment industry, copying her look. It was the 1970s that brought out what would come to be known as the start of the true Japanese idol period. Some of the main standouts included Minami Saori, Amachi Mari, and Koyanagi Rumiko, also known to some as the Shin-san nin Musume, or Three New Daughters. The latter part of the 70s debuted yet more legendary idols such as Yamaguchi Momoe, Sakurada Junko, and Mori Masako, also nicknamed Hanan no Chusan Torio. I guess you could say middle three flower trio. I don't know how I would translate that exactly. Anyway, idol groups also started to appear, such as Candies and Pink Lady. Most of this era, however, was seen as a revolving door for idols, as most idols came and went in the blink of an eye. Then came the 1980s, also known as the golden age of Japanese idols. This is when idol popularity skyrocketed. Japan was in its economic bubble period, a time in which money was everywhere, before bursting at the end of the decade, as the name implies. Anyway, people had loads of disposable income, especially lonely otaku, or nerdy males, entering the workforce for the first time in their lives. Idols were playing a part in new mediums such as anime and the new hobby of video games. The popular anime Macross, also known in the West as Robotech, even held an idol as the central plot theme, being the secret weapon of Earth's military, singing to inspire the soldiers to win battles. People, especially young men, everywhere were dropping buckets of money on their favorite idols in this era, and studios were more than happy to capitalize on it. Increasing popularity was the invention of video cassettes, allowing people to see their idols live on stage, posing in swimsuits, or even nude. More on this in a few moments. Anyway, this era is when we got to see the career launch of Matsuda Seiko, a woman so popular that all other idols were compared to her. It was kind of Matsuda Seiko versus everyone mentality. While she was a cheerful type of personality, you still had the presence of idols like Yamaguchi Momoe, who was more of the cool type idol. There were other idols like Nakamori Akina and the Class of '82, a group of idols all launching in the same year, such as Koizumi Kyoko, Hayami Yu, Matsumoto Io, and Ishikawa Hidemi. This was also the era where idols were being turned into delinquent schoolgirl superheroes for some reason, because Japan, I guess. Oh, and for anyone who's seen this viral photograph and assumed it was a member of the Viet Cong or Khmer Rouge or whatever, you're wrong. It's from a show called Shoujo Commando Izumi. I mean, duh. How could you not guess it was a Japanese schoolgirl from an 80s action show? There was also the group known as the Onionko Club Group, a group that would hint at the formula we would use to create idols nowadays, including graduations of members, in other words a polite way of saying retiring or being fired, and the rise of appearing more on TV for fans. But first we'd hit the 1990s. The 1990s was known as the Idol Winter or the Idol Ice Age because fewer idols were appearing. It's unknown why, but you could make an argument for the internet playing a role, along with the rise of other styles of music, the need for actual artists rather than performers, or disinterest in general. However, there were still some very important pivotal idols debuting, such as Utada Hikaru, Amuro Namie, the group Speed, and Hamasaki Ayumi, arguably the equivalent of Madonna in Japan. However, I guess you could say they were more of artists than idols. However, perhaps the most important development in the history of idols likely occurred in the late 1990s with the debut of the popular group Morning Musume. Not only was it a group of popular young women following the structure of Onionko Club, but they did something extremely pivotal in that they held auditions for new members. The key moment happened when Goto Maki, at the age of 13, won a competition beating out thousands of other girls to become the newest member of the group, thus becoming the poster girl on walls of teenage boys throughout the country.
ちょっとやばいかも。13に見えないね。大人っぽいね。バク転できるかな。
However, it wasn't just boys who were infatuated. This marked the beginning of girls throughout Japan becoming obsessed with the chance of gaining fame and fortune, now knowing that anybody could become an idol. Now, auditions for talent weren't new by any means, but usually after winning auditions, you'd still need to work your way to the top. However, Morning Musume was already the biggest idol group. It would be like a junior high football player getting a guaranteed contract to play for the reigning Super Bowl champs. International viewers. It'd be like a U13 footballer getting a contract to be a starting player on the reigning Premier League champion team, I guess. Anyway, Morning Musume continued the success of Goto by adding more members through the same process. They also improved the idol group blueprint by creating subdivisions, in which 3 to 5 members would appear in smaller groups, branding different monikers. This also amplified sales and further solidified the blueprint for idol success. However, while Onionko Club and Morning Musume created the blueprint for idol success, another group would master it and hone it to an art form and create the process for pumping out idols the way they are today.